the issue of North Korea. In his news conference yesterday alongside the Italian Prime Minister, the president declined to take a dig at the sanity of North Korean dictator Kim Jong-un.
Do you believe that the leader of North Korea, Kim Jong-un, is mentally unstable? Is that one of the reasons why you're so concerned about these latest developments? Is he a man who can be reasoned with?
As far as North Korea is concerned, we are in very good shape. We're building our military rapidly. A lot of things have happened over the last short period of time. I've been here for approximately 91 days. We're doing a lot of work. We're in very good position. We're going to see what happens. I can't answer your question on stability. I hope the answer is a positive one, not a negative one.
Instead, President Trump pivoted to talk about the work China is doing to resolve the North Korean crisis, talking about the incentives he gave them.
I really have confidence that the president will try very hard. We don't know whether or not they're able to do that, but I have absolute confidence that he will be trying very, very hard. And one of the reasons that we're talking about trade deals and we're talking about all of the different things, but we're slowing up a little bit. I actually told him, I said, you'll make a much better deal on trade if you get rid of this menace or do something about the menace of North Korea, because that's what it is. It's a menace right now. I can say that all of the pundits out there are saying they never have seen China work like they're working right now. Many coal ships have set back. Many other things have happened. Some very unusual moves have been made over the last 2 or 3 hours.
Joining us now, columnist for the Daily Beast, Gordon Chang. He's the author of the books The Coming Collapse of China and Nuclear Showdown, North Korea Takes on the World. And in Washington, NBC News national security analyst Jeremy Bash. He's a former chief of staff at the CIA and the Department of Defense.
Gordon, let me begin with you. Yesterday we showed some articles from China's papers actually pushing North Korea to back down. Were you surprised by the tone of those?
No, because we've seen those very many times.
Have we seen those very many times? The Chinese telling the North Koreans to back down?
Yeah, that's consistent. But what maybe is important is that there is now, the coal ships that President Trump referred to. But nonetheless, remember that the Chinese announced that ban on the purchase of Chinese coal on February 8. In February, March, and April, North Korean ships have unloaded coal at Chinese ports. And so right now, I think China is in a sort of an ambivalent position. It probably wants to do the right thing, but it's worried about President Trump and this order yesterday.
Why would China be ambivalent? They know they have a president actually that might move on North Korea if they don't.
Yeah, and the coal ban, and the dumping order yesterday, I think, is a message to China. China gets a lot of benefit from North Korea because every time that they do something provocative, we don't talk to China about the things that we want to. Predatory trade practices, right. South China Sea, Taiwan, all the rest of it. Right. And also, we send a high-level envoy to Beijing, and we ask for their cooperation. Right. So Beijing sees that as a way to get bargaining chips from us.
But isn't that coming to an end? We have Seattle possibly in strike zone within 3 years of a nuclear attack from North Korea.
Yeah, well, it's coming to an end for us because we now have a new sense of awareness of the problem. For China, they will continue to be cooperative as long as the U.S. continues to apply pressure to China. When we sort of look someplace else, we become distracted by the Middle East or whatever, then the Chinese are going to go back to their default position, which is supporting the North Koreans, because you have many people in the military who are supporting their counterparts in the North Korean armed forces.
Jeremy Bash, what are some of the further levers? We've heard a lot about these coal ships turning around. President Trump has touted those. What other levers does China hold over North Korea, and why might they be compelled to use them at this moment?
Well, China also controls that very long land border between North Korea and China, and customs enforcement, immigration enforcement on that border has historically been very weak. That's something that China could crack down upon, basically to reassert their control there. But in general, they have a lot of economic influence in Pyongyang. It's not just coal ships. They are essentially the economic lifeline for the regime there. And that is a way that they could squeeze the governing elite in the North Korean regime. It's a way they could crack down on their access to luxury goods and other things that they seek. I thought it was very interesting in the press conference yesterday. The president characterized the situation in North Korea as going very well. He said, you know, we're happy to report that things are working out quite nicely. I thought that was a little Pollyannish. It seemed almost like the president was looking for a way out, saying the crisis has been diffused, everybody, don't worry, I took care of it. I think we are a long way away from this crisis being diffused.
John Meacham?
Gordon, talk about Russia in this calculus. Where do they play in the equation?
Well, Russia has generally been supportive of Chinese policy with regard to North Korea. It's very interesting that the Russians are now sending 3 trains full of soldiers to their 17-mile border. And that's an indication that the Russians are also, as well as the Chinese, are militarizing their border, because there are reports coming from U.S. officials that the Chinese have put their bomber force on high alert with increased maintenance. And of course, we're eventually sending our Carl Vinson group into the Sea of Japan. So you have all these countries starting to militarize their relations with North Korea. I'm sure Pyongyang is getting the message, but Putin is going to take a backseat, as he traditionally has, just sort of following Beijing's lead.
Jeremy Bash, I want to ask you how Iran plays into all of this. There's posturing. There seems to be kind of heightened activity on every foreign policy front. Posturing on Iran, the president saying they violated the spirit of the agreement. How does that factor in?
Yeah, Mika, and just the way I said, I thought the president seemed like he was looking for a way out of North Korea. It seemed like he was looking for a way into the Iran situation, almost kind of muscling in with its prepared, and I thought artfully done line, saying, yes, they're not violating the letter of the agreement, but they're violating the spirit of the agreement. I think you take that combined with Secretary Tillerson's very tough language the day before yesterday on Iran. It's clear this administration wants to be much tougher on Iran. They seem to be looking for a confrontation on that front.
Jeremy, let me ask you also, yesterday I had actually somebody call me up and say, hey, why was Donald Trump restrained in the Italian press conference about Europe, and also restrained when it came to North Korea? Do you sense that he is understanding now, for the first time, 90 days in, the tremendous weight the words of president carries?
He's got to. I don't think anyone can sit in the Oval Office and not have that understanding sink in. I will say I think that he and the team have handled these summits, these senior leader visits, very well, with the exception of the Merkel visit, which we've obviously discussed. I mean, the visit with Bibi, with Sisi, with Abe, with Xi, these have gone, with May, these have gone very well. It's a great forum for the president. He's standing there on a world stage with world leaders, and I think he knows that, quote-unquote, acting presidential in that setting redounds to his political benefit here at home. He doesn't want to use those press conferences to make news about wiretapping or say something crazy about a domestic political issue or about voter fraud or some of the other things that have really gotten them off track. He knows that those forums are really to talk serious talk about national security. Now, what we can't assess, obviously, from the outside in is how they're doing in the decision-making inside the National Security Council. I was told that the Principals Committee meeting, the PC, within the National Security Council before the Xi Jinping visit was 29 minutes. It was basically, they walked in, they said, this is what's going to happen. You know, there was no real discussion, no real thrashing about how to approach China, how to get China to use its leverage. It was very pro forma. And so I don't know that the decision-making is that thorough. That will probably come with time.
Well, and by all accounts, Mika, the meeting with the Chinese leaders and with President Xi went extraordinarily well between the two men, which is what we've said all along, despite our frustrations. When Donald Trump gets in the room with somebody, he's usually, unless their last name is Merkel, he's usually quite effective in charming them and figuring out a way to work with them.
Well, Jeremy Bash, thank you very much. Gordon Chang, thank you as well.
Thanks for checking out MSNBC on YouTube, and make sure you subscribe to stay up to date on the day's biggest stories. And you can click on any of the videos around us to watch more from Morning Joe and MSNBC. Thanks so much for watching.